Hello and welcome. I'm going to be showing you how to use my new tool Beziyay. So Beziyay creates visual Bezier handles on path properties. So I'm just going to show you how to run the script on this little composition I have here. So this is a figure of 8 which shrinks in font width, so it goes from regular to thin. So we're going to select all 3 of these properties and run the script. A little hack: if you dock it into your K-bar here and you hit tilde and run the script and hit OK, it's going to run way faster. So that built all of those tangents in no time at all. If I hit undo and if I hit run, because the viewfinder here has to build everything, you can see it's taken way longer. And obviously there's a lot of points and handles on this shape here, so this is going to take quite a while. So if you can and you use K-bar, I recommend that little trick I just showed you. We'll just let this run through and create our shapes. There we go. Right. If we hit the shy here, it will hide everything on our timeline except our control layer where we can start doing the styling. And if I just quickly scrub through, you'll see this all live updates with our path animation. Okay, so on the control layer, you'll see we have an effect called Beziyay. This has global properties and a delay system, which we'll cover later on. In the global, it has a stroke width. So if I change this to 10, you'll see the handles, strokes, the outlines on the tangents and the vertices, and the outline of the shape itself all change. So whatever layer you put it on, if it has a stroke, it will add an expression to the stroke as well, to visually make everything the same, which is a nice little thing to have. So I'll just pop that back. So here you then have controls for the vertex. So you've got fill color, so you can change that to whatever you want and it will update all the shapes. Strobe color as well, so we can set that to black. It has opacity if you want to remove either the fill or the strokes, like so. We've got the vertex size and roundness, so you could set this to a low number to create rounded corners. Or if you put it to half of the size, you'll get circles. You then have rotation. So if you set it to 45, you could have diamonds. And finally, you have an opacity. If you set this to 0, it will get rid of it in case you just wanted to see handles and no vertex. Cool. I'm just going to quickly style these out. I'm going to go for 10 here, and I'm actually going to come to the effect here, and on the color I'm just going to link it to my color palette I have here using Ray Dynamic Color. Okay, so next we have the tangent controls, which is very similar. We've got fill color, which will update the fills, stroke color for the strokes. Again, you can turn the opacity on and off on both of these. We have the tangent size, which I'm going to set to about 7. And again, roundness. The only difference really here is you have this auto rotate button, which I'll show you now. If I set the rotation to 45 degrees, you'll notice visually all of them are exactly 45 degrees, but if you click auto rotate, this will rotate the tangents to point to the vertices, and you'll see when you set it to 45 degrees, the lines nicely connect. The edge of one of the corners, sorry, will nicely connect to the line of the handle, which is a visual thing that you might prefer, or you can just have it to be exactly 45 degrees. And again, if this was set to 0, they would be like perfectly lined up in the center of these 2 points here. So that's what auto rotate does. And then again, you've got opacity, so you could just turn these off if you didn't want them. And the only other features are tolerance and influence. I'll show you tolerance later on, but influence basically allows you to animate the handles on and off. So that's pretty much the tangent controls. I'm going to do the same here, where I'm going to just link these to our color palette, and I'm going to set the roundness to 7. I'm going to have circles for my tangents like that. Let's go a bit bigger. Let's go 6. Cool. Up next we have the handle controls. So if I go into the tangent quickly and turn the opacity off, you'll see you get the option for round cap. So if you select this, it'll round off the caps. Pretty self-explanatory. You've got a stroke width offset, so if for some reason you wanted the stroke widths to be larger than the global, this can be handy if you have the tangents on and you wanted to create a look where you have like circle ends like that, for example. There might be other reasons why you want to use that, but that was the main reason I put that in. Or you could have, for example, if you put the roundness to 0, you could then auto rotate at 45 degrees and create that kind of like pointed square look. So yeah, that's what the offset does. So I'm just going to put that back to 0. Roundness, I'm just going to put it to 6. There we go. And you've got handle opacity, so you could turn these off if you wanted to just have this look. Again, fill color, stroke color, sorry. You've got trim paths, so you could trim them on and off. And again, you've got the offset, which you'd expect with a trim path controller. And finally, you have dashes, so you could create a dashed stroke look. For example, 10, 20, 20, 20, like that. And again, you've got an offset here, so you can animate the lines, the dashes of your lines. Cool. I'm just going to set this to all to 0. Okay, I'm now going to show you how to animate the properties and how you can copy styling. So in this composition, I have this circle which animates out like so into this sort of flower shape. So I'm going to just go to our other composition where we defined our styling. I'm just going to copy the Beziyay control layer, paste it in here, and if I select the path properties here and run it, you'll see now it builds it with the exact styling that we defined in the previous demo. Now, I just wanted to show you quickly that this has only been pasted onto one of our leaves. So if I select the other leaf layers and run the script, they now also have the same styling, which is grand. But you also notice the layers here are cut to our in and out points, just to help you choose when they come on and off, essentially. Cool. So let's show you how to animate some of these properties. So if we select the Bezier controller, we're going to just animate the size on both of these and the influence. Let's just set them all to 0 to begin with. We'll add some extreme ease in so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to just animate like that. So we'll have the vertexes animate on first, the handle starts to grow out before the tangents animate on. Very nice. So in the global properties, you'll see we have this delay drop down. So if I set this to 10 on the delay, you'll see every come forward 10 frames, one will start to animate on, and then the next 10 frames, and then the next 10 frames, and so on. And then we open out to our bigger animation there. And you'll also see there is reverse delay and even delay. So the way that it builds it is each path has an index number starting with 0 to, in this instance, 3, because we have 4 points. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So if I do reverse delay, it's going to jump to the 3rd position, which is the end of our index list. So you'll see it starts to animate the other way around the circle. So this animates kind of in a clockwise fashion, and now it's going to animate counterclockwise. And you'll notice there is even delay. So what even delay does is it will do the first and last position. So you'll see those two animate on, and then the other two. And if you have them both ticked, reverse and even delay, it will start from the middle of the indexes and work its way outwards, like so. And you'll notice there is also a random delay. So if we set this to 30, something quite extreme, you'll see they randomly animate on across 30 frames. And then there is a animation seed where you can just change this and it will change which one animates on first. So that's how the animation controls work. Okay, I'm now going to show you how you do the text styling. So when you select your path and run Beziyay, you get this box here, and if by default only tangent is ticked, but if you click info and hit run, you'll see we now get text layers. So we're going to go to the controller layer. First of all, I'm just going to show you something here as well. If I delete this controller layer now, we get one big red square and loads of expression errors. But what we can do now is copy the old styling we had, paste it in, and everything updates to what we had before. So you'll see these also animate on now as well. Very cool. Okay, so we now have text controls, and you'll see vertex and tangent. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So there's measurements, which if you turn this on and off, it will remove the pixels on the vertexes. And you can change the positioning of these. So if you wanted it to the right or left of the tangent, the vertex, you can. Or you can have it above, like so. And you could animate this. So you could animate this coming into position. And you could animate the opacity. And this will work with the delay system as well. So there we go, we have these layers animating on and off. As you can see as I scrub through, we have these text layers that are appearing on and off, which is very distracting, and you might be thinking, what is that? And that is to do with the path layer. I did this purposely. So if I just disable this expression quickly, there is a handle very close here, which is giving you this information. And on this one, I've made it more obvious. We have this handle here. So if you start to get undesirable results like this, what you can do is if you go to the tangent controls, we have the tangent tolerance. So if I increase this number, you will see this has disappeared. But we still have this one, which we don't want. So let's just keep increasing it. And you'll see at around 18, so that's like a pixel radius from this handle. So as soon as I hit 18 pixels, that one disappears. So we'll go a little bit further, we'll go 25. And then hopefully, when we scrub through now, we also don't have that handle drawn at all, but we also don't have the text layers overlapping. Very cool. So, yeah, we can animate these on both of these properties. So we will just quickly animate this as well. So we'll go from 0 to -20. There we go. Obviously this is a bit distracting when this actually animates, so let's just move this across so we can see what we're doing. So our handles animate on, and then so do our text. Perfect. Right, so I will show you just the measurements on the tangent because it works a bit different. You can turn the measurements on and off, and this is a degree on the when you have it set to angle. If I set it to world position, it gives you the world position of the handles, so you get pixels, and the other one you get is tangent length. So this measures from A to B, and it will tell you how long your tangents are. Your handles are, sorry. So in this instance, it's 166 pixels. And again, you can turn new measurements off. So if you just wanted a raw number value. And the text styling is controlled with these reference layers that it creates. So there's one for tangents and one for vertices. So if I change the font here, let's go to bold. You'll see that updates, and I could change the color to red, and that will update all of our vertexes. And we could go light for the tangents. We could go blue, for example. Not very nice to look at, but here you go. And you can change the alignment. And obviously tracking, font height, font size, sorry. So you can stylistically make them look different, like so. So we have this layer here, which when it animates, we have a turner camera, which has some depth of field. Lovely. So if we select our path, run Beziyay, and turn the info on, here we go. So because I changed the styling to blue previously, we've got that default styling now on these reference layers. I'm going to delete them and paste these ones in. So we get just to black text again. Great. Right. So now you'll see. I'm going to delete the control layer as well, actually, and paste the old control layer. So we have this all animate on, and then the camera moves, and we get a nice bit of depth of field on all of our individual layers, which is great. The only properties we have here are for the individual decks. So if you could choose to push the text layers back further or forward further. You can also do this for the tangents. Sorry, the vertices and the tangents, and you'll see everything kind of links together to a degree, so it's just a case of moving these how you like it visually. But there we go, and then you'll get a nice bit of depth when you scrub through the animation. Okay, before we wrap this up, I'm just going to demonstrate a few other key benefits of using Beziyay. One would be, it's pretty self-explanatory and maybe obvious, but parenting. So if I was to have created this square, for example, we can make it 3D, center the anchor point, and we could parent this to the vertex, and then obviously we get this nice additional way to build artwork around our Bezier handles. So if you needed to highlight a certain thing, you could link this to the vertex. You could even link it to the text itself, or the vertices, the tangents, sorry. So, you know, it's just a nice little way to highlight other elements. I'm not sure if I covered it or not, but this all auto responds based on, sorry, what happened there? I moved the anchor point, not the layer. This all responds based on wherever your layer is positioned, its rotation, and scale. So everything works nicely as you'd expect it. So I built Beziyay with Overlord in mind because I'm assuming most people are using Overlord these days. So I've got a text layer here in Illustrator. It's going to credit to outlines, and we're going to just paste it into After Effects. And if we examine the layers, Overlord tends to create a group, and then it will have the group for the individual shapes. And sometimes these transform layers have slight offsets in position on here. So for example, let's just extremely move this over here. And let's search for path. We're going to run the script. So Beziyay is actively looking for transformation positions within the group layers, which is cool because that means wherever, when you ping layers from Overlord, if there are any of those group layers, you don't massively need to worry about it. It should just work nicely. And this will apply for things like rotation as well. And if the scale was slightly out, like that. Cool. But I can only account so deep on these text layers. So if I just go back to before we ran the script, let's say this one was in another group. Wrong button, sorry. And then we run the script. So let's then add some transformation to this group, and then some transformation here as well. So you see we get quite a wild position based on the group layers, the group layer transformations. So now if I hit run on Beziyay, you'll see there's a misalignment here where it's just sent them all to the top corner because it can't calculate the group path. So if you run the script and you have handles that are wildly out of place, the likelihood is you have too many groups. You can only go 2 layers deep. I hope that makes sense. Another issue is, let me just copy this demo, would be what I would just call bad naming conventions. So let me just delete all of this quickly. So if these were all called leaf, like so, we'll select the paths, run Beziyay. They're all just going to be on one layer, and that's because all of our layers are going to be called leaf, and they're all going to be referencing the same group. So the expressions get confused, and it therefore applies the same positioning values to all of the layers it's built, which is, in this instance, the last leaf layer. So if we undo Beziyay, if you give it all unique names, I'm not going to do them all. And then we run the script again. Oops, sorry, wrong button. You'll see it works. So, yeah, they're the two catches, basically. If all of your tangents end up snapping to one layer, it's probably because your layer naming isn't right. And if they're wildly off, it's probably because of the group transformations. So just bear that in mind when you're working with Bezier.